Hi. My name is Axel.
Hi, Axel.
And I'm a recovering gas addict. That's right, I had G.A.S, otherwise known as Gear Acquisition Syndrome. You know, that overwhelming urge to buy all the shiny new filmmaking gear that promises to take your filmmaking to the next level. And trust me, during my gas-fueled days, I made some questionable choices. Today I'm sharing the top 5 pieces of filmmaking gear I regret buying, counting down from the least regretful to the ultimate what was I thinking purchase. Let's kick things off with a small but oh so popular piece of gear, the ProMist filters by Polar Pro. Now if you're not familiar, these are effect filters that you take and screw onto or place in front of your lens. They're designed to add an atmospheric illumination to your images, blooming your highlights, softening your image, and giving everything a hazy, dreamlike look. Think of it as a way to replicate the effect of using haze on set, but in camera. Sort of. Now, I wasn't being sarcastic. These things are insanely popular among filmmakers of all experience levels, and for good reason. They do exactly what they promise. Personally, I used them on my modern photo lenses for about 6 months, and during that time, I thought I liked them, or at least I believed I did. Looking back though, I'm not sure if I truly liked them or if I just convinced myself I did because every other filmmaker seemed to be raving about these things.
Don't pretend like you don't know the answer, because they were paid. It was a marketing campaign and you fell for it. You're smarter than this. You even still use it.
I picked up both the 1/8 and quarter strength filters to give my footage that soft, dreamy look with halation around the highlights. And this may come as no surprise, but they worked exactly as advertised. But after about 6 months, I stopped using them entirely. Here's why. While I wanted smoother skin tones and bloomed highlights, what I really craved deep down was a more filmic and vintage look to my images. These filters couldn't quite give me that, at least to the degree I wanted. So I swapped them out for a couple of vintage lenses, and just like that, I had the look I was after. Lower contrast, unique expressive lens flares, and a smooth, almost paint-like bokeh, or bokeh if you're fancy. To be clear, the ProMist filters aren't bad at all. They just weren't the tool I was searching for. But if you think they're the right tool for you, go for it. If you're curious, I suggest starting with the 1/8 strength. It's subtle and a little more versatile in my opinion. The intensity of the 1/4 can feel a little spicy for a lot of projects, so I'll link them down in the description. Picture this, it's 2012, you're an aspiring filmmaker living in the golden age of the camera wars. Canon just dropped their 5D Mark III, a year later Sony's set to release their A7 mirrorless camera, and YouTube is rapidly becoming the place for creatives to share their work. The industry is shifting, companies are no longer catering solely to photographers. And they're starting to invest heavily in video-centric products. One of those products quickly gained popularity among videographers. And by the end of 2015, it felt like everyone had one. What's this mysterious piece of gear? That, my friend, is the humble camera slider. Back then, sliders were a big deal. Smooth camera movement was something we all craved, and outside of janky DIY solutions, there just weren't many simple, affordable tools to achieve it. Camera sliders were effective, compact, and way cheaper than other camera stabilization methods at the time. So naturally, I had to get one. And was it cool? Heck yeah, it was. At first. Over time, it became more of a hassle than it was worth. I wasn't shooting professionally back then, it was strictly just for fun, and dragging a slider around quickly lost its charm. One day I left it behind and, well, I didn't touch it again. For years. Eventually, I got tired of looking at it and finally sold it. Fast forward to present day, and guess what? I didn't learn my lesson. A couple of years ago, I convinced myself it would be different this time, because the new slider I bought was motorized. Spoiler alert, I rarely use it, but I do still have it, and I'm actually using it a little more now. Why? For creating content like this. When shooting B-roll with static items, I think it's a fantastic tool, and it's a great example of right tool for the job. That said, for professional shoots or indie films, I've moved away from the manual or motorized sliders. These days, I much prefer renting a Dana dolly when smooth camera movement is needed. They're heavy duty, buttery smooth, and have the option for much longer track lengths. It's just a better fit for what I'm shooting these days. So let's talk about this little guy right here, my beautiful, broken Flycam. If you're not familiar with a Flycam, it's a camera support system, and it's a cheaper alternative to an Easy Rig, because them's is expensive. You might be thinking, it's broken, so shouldn't this be number one on your list of regrets? Yes, but also no. Let me explain. Yes, this is the only item on the list that's completely busted and no longer usable, but, and this is a big but, it's not number one because I actually got a surprising amount of use out of it before it finally gave up on me. Unlike some of the other gear in this video, the Flycam wasn't just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. For years, it worked, well, at least for a while, and for what I needed at the time. I mean, it wasn't the most comfortable, easiest to use rig in the world, but hey, it got me through a handful of shoots and gave me the chance to experiment with this style of camera stabilization on a budget. But here's the thing. Just because I managed to squeeze some value out of it doesn't mean I'd recommend anyone, including yourself, buy one today. Remember how I said in the intro that everything on this list is technically a useful tool? Well, that's not exactly true. The Flycam is the exception. I can't in good conscience suggest anyone purchase one of these. There are far better alternatives out there, and by that I mean the Easy Rig, which has a way better build quality. And in my opinion, you're better off renting an Easy Rig as opposed to buying a Flycam. It's what I wish I did. Now, if you shoot a lot of handheld projects and can justify the cost of an Easy Rig, because again, they're not cheap, by all means, I think they're a worthwhile investment. So yeah, the Flycam. Useful once upon a time, but ultimately a regretful buy. This little carabiner I put on it is sick though. My number 2 purchase regret is the Avioscope 1.75 times amber anamorphic adapter. And let me just say, I'm really torn about including this on the list because honestly, I love this adapter and the beautiful images you can get with it. So let me explain why I regret buying it. When I purchased this adapter, I was going through a period of self-discovery as a filmmaker. I was trying to figure out what I liked in an image, what I didn't like, and why. During that journey, I realized that most of my favorite movies had one thing in common. Almost all of them were shot on anamorphic lenses. The unique flares, the oval bokeh, even the barrel distortion, I wanted that look. But there's a problem. Real anamorphic lenses, even these so-called budget ones, cost thousands of dollars per lens. That's where the Avioscope came in. As an adapter, it's much less expensive, and I could pair it with a variety of spherical lenses to cover different focal lengths. It seemed like the perfect compromise. And don't get me wrong, it delivers on the look. The golden flares and the waterfall bokeh are absolutely gorgeous. But here's where the regret comes in. It's just not practical for the majority of what I shoot professionally. First, it's not the best tool if you plan on switching focal lengths often. Changing lenses with the adapter attached takes time, which can really slow things down on set. Second, it's not wide at all. The widest you can go is around 50 millimeters, and even then you'll get vignetting on a full frame sensor, even if you were to change your camera to a 4x3 or 5x6 setting. So to avoid this, you're really looking around 57 millimeters as your widest focal length, which makes it tough to use in tight spaces or for wide establishing shots. And to be honest, I partially justified buying it by telling myself I'd use it for more paying jobs, but the reality is it's just not practical for most of my work, so it rarely gets used. So while I still love the look and the creative possibilities it opened, the Avioscope just isn't the right tool for my needs. All right, it's time for the big one. My number one regret is the Tilta Hydra Alien car mount. Now, don't get me wrong, this thing is hands down the coolest piece of gear I own. A stabilization rig that lets you mount your camera to the car and capture smooth cinematic action shots. I mean, come on, that sounds like every filmmaker's dream, right? Well, not quite. Let me explain why this dream got punched in the face by reality. First off, I fell victim to the marketing hype. Again, Tilta marketed this thing hard when it came out, and I ate it up like candy. I mean, if you saw the promotional footage, you'd get it. They made it look insanely cool, like you could just mount it, hit record, and instantly shoot the next Fast and Furious. But in reality, a little less movie magic and a lot more logistical challenges. For starters, this thing requires several people to operate, at least for someone like me. You need a driver, a camera operator, and a first AC to pull focus just to get the ball rolling. That's 3 people minimum, and that's not even including the talent that you're going to shoot. On top of that, if you want to do it right, you also have to rig the inside of the car with monitors so you can see what you're shooting. Otherwise, good luck moving the camera smoothly or pulling focus accurately when the car turns or accelerates. Trust me, it's not that easy. And then there's this. I heavily, and I mean heavily, modified the shock absorption plate to get smoother results. And by that I mean I straight up built a new one. Which, to be fair, it is a lot smoother than the stock shock plate, but now I can't even sell it because I'd feel terrible if someone lost their entire camera rig because of my questionable Frankenstein build. The kicker to all this, I don't even like cars like that. I'm by no means a car guy and drive an ugly brown grandma car. So yeah, the Tilta Hydra Alien. It's cool, it's flashy, and it's 100% useful, but for me, it's a massive regret. The biggest one at that. If you're thinking about buying one of these, ask yourself, am I getting this in hopes of using it, or am I buying it to improve the car content I'm already producing? So while it's a great tool, this thing is not for the faint of heart or the solo filmmaker. Remember, gear is just a tool, and I'm saying this as a reminder to myself as well. It's not about how cool it is, it's about how well it fits into your workflow and how it helps tell your stories. As always, thank you so much for spending just a little bit of time with me today, and I'll see you again in the next video.